Good morning, New Life Academy. I am Miss Rodriguez. I teach 6th and ninth grade physical science, and I hope you all had a lovely Easter. Today, I wanted to share a little bit with you from my own personal journey. I feel like maybe I can relate to some of you during this big time of uncertainty as we go through quarantine and face the coronavirus. So, the part of my story I want to start out with is 7th grade. The recession was happening, and my dad had lost his job. My mom stayed at home to take care of my brother and I, so that job was really our only source of income. It was really, really scary. We were really uncertain. We didn't know what was going to happen. My mind was jumping to all sorts of worst case scenarios, and we just didn't know what was going to happen. I was also worried what would others think about me and my family. I didn't understand why it was happening either. I was so angry and scared and became consumed with anxiety and depression. I couldn't find any good or some sort of light in the situation. I didn't see how could any of this be good in any way. How could this be turned around into something good for my family? And I just felt really betrayed by God. I thought, why would you allow stuff like this to happen? Why would you let people who are Christians and doing their best, always trying to be good, why would you let bad things happen to people? And that was a big struggle at that time in my life. Eventually, my dad did find a new job in Minnesota, but it required us to move from our home in Kansas. I had lived my whole life in Kansas, and now all of a sudden I had to move to Minnesota. I had to leave behind all my friends, the schools that I loved. I had to leave behind, the sports teams that I had been a part of for years. But even with now having a job, a lot of the feelings and the anxiety and anger and depression that I had didn't go away. That fear and uncertainty, that feeling of abandonment just sort of changed form. It latched on to different issues that I had. For example, the first school that I attended here in Minnesota, I got bullied a lot. 8th and ninth grade year for me were just the worst. It was really horrible, and it really deepened my anxiety, my depression. Again, I was so angry. Like, God, why do you keep doing this? Why have you forgotten me? Why have you abandoned me? And I just couldn't really handle it. I had spiraled really badly. Um, but through talking and different connections that I had, I heard about New Life Academy. And so I decided I wanted to go to New Life. I heard about how it was small, it was Christian. I thought I could really use that in my life, being surrounded more by my faith. So for my sophomore year, 10th grade, I transferred to New Life, and that's when things really started to change for me. It strengthened my relationship with Christ. I learned more about his nature. Around this time, I had also found a church that I really connected with, and I loved all the messages. The sermons it felt like they were speaking right to me, and this also strengthened my faith and led it to being more of a relationship and less of a following. And so from these experiences, I've come to understand that God has a plan. Usually we don't see this plan in the moment. It might seem really crappy in the moment, but even with that, God has a plan. When I come across more times of uncertainty, and since high school, even through college, I struggle with depression, anxiety. Even now, sometimes it flares up and I feel really uncertain. I feel scared. I feel anxious. I can comfortably say, though, now, because of my faith, that God is in control and I'm going to be okay and I'll make it through. It is in our nature to want to be in control of our lives, of everything happening around us. But unfortunately, that's just not the case. We aren't in control. But the amazing thing is that we have a God who is powerful and who is in control. So instead of building up all this anxiety and fear inside of us on the things that we can't control, we should instead find comfort knowing that God has a plan for us. One of the verses that comes to my mind every single time I'm going through some sort of hardship or trial is Isaiah 43, 1 through 3. And I would just like to share that verse with you. It says, "Do not fear, for I have redeemed you. I have summoned you by name. You are mine. When you pass through the waters, I will be with you. When you pass through the rivers, they will not sweep over you. When you walk through the fire, you will not be burned. The flames will not set you ablaze. For I am the Lord your God, the Holy One of Israel, your Savior." And so in this verse, the things that really stand out to me are do not fear, for I have redeemed you. And that part has been what's gotten me through so much, is that no matter what I'm going through, whether it's I got behind, my grade is lower than I want it to be, I feel really overwhelmed, there's a lot of pressure, and I feel really anxious, I feel like I'm drowning, I know that God's not going to let me drown. He's going to be right there. He is in control, and He has a plan for me no matter what's happening. That time that my dad had lost his job, I had felt so lost and abandoned, but now I see that God had a huge plan for me. I never would have, thought that I would be in the place that I am right now. And it probably never would have happened for me had none of those events occur. And so when you think about it, my family never would have moved to Minnesota. That wouldn't have even been an idea. We would have just probably kept living in Kansas and would still be. Coming to Minnesota then, that first school that I went to, if I hadn't been bullied and gone through those horrible 8th and 9th grade years, I never would have found New Life. From New Life, that's where I heard of the school Bethel that I attended and had the opportunity to do full-time PSEO. Then at Bethel, I got my degree and was able to come back here to New Life as a teacher. And now I love my job. I love my students with all my heart. I'm so happy here at New Life. I love being able to wake up and see all of my 6th and 9th graders every single day. It's just really amazing, and not something that in 7th grade when my dad had lost his job, or when I was being bullied, or just times that I felt really overwhelmed, that I would have even pictured for myself. Because of those hardships that I endured, I am where I am today. I also think it's important that because I had those experiences, I can share with some of you who may be going through the same struggles. Maybe you have anxiety or depression. If you're also going through a time of uncertainty with all this quarantine and coronavirus, maybe you also have a parent who, in this situation in the economy, has lost a job, and you feel lost, abandoned, or uncertain. Remember the words of Isaiah. God is in control and has a plan for you, and it's beautiful. He's not ever going to let you down. He's always going to be right there for you. And so that's my encouragement for you as we move forward with the rest of the year, and hopefully just any time that you have struggles in your life or are feeling anxious, depressed, just anything, know that God is in control.